Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our Clallam EDC Coffee Chat, Coffee with Colleen. We're really happy to have our friends and partners, the city staff members from the city of Sequim, joining us today to talk about some of their big projects that they have going on. I know they're very busy at the city of Sequim, so which of course is a good thing. A few housekeeping items before we kick it off. If you'll make sure you're on mute, or I'll go ahead and put you on mute so we don't inadvertently hear background noise. And if you'd like to ask any questions, you can either put your question in the chat and I'll ask it for you to the speaker. I think we're going to have 3 folks talking today. And then as well, if you'd like to ask a question of the speaker, we like to keep this pretty interactive. So you can go ahead and raise your hand, virtual hand, and you can ask the question yourself. So with that, I'm going to pass it on over to the city manager of the city of Sequim, Matt Huish. Matt, take it away. And thank you so much for being willing to do this, sharing the exciting stuff that's happening at the city of Sequim.
Wow, so formal. Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. So yeah, we always look forward to the opportunity to kind of share with the community what we're doing. Actually, I was approached by you or Mitch or Lori or somebody about introducing to our 2 new directors who are really responsible for probably the most important departments in the city, in any city. And so I reached out to them and they both were willing. And then I thought, well, if you guys are going to talk, let me squeeze a couple slides in on the front of you and kind of exercise my executive option to give a quick overview of the city. So they were fine with that. I did promise to keep it short so that it's really about them and their departments. But I did think that occasionally I hear from other residents and folks here that so what's going on at the city. So I thought I'd just give a quick overview with that. Are we sharing slides? I'm not seeing those up yet.
I can. I'll go ahead and share the slide now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, and you can jump. Let's see. Are we?
Okay, and I'll go to slideshow and
Perfect.
I'm beginning. There. Is that showing up right?
It's trying, at least at mine.
Okay.
Well, it's still not the one slide, but.
How's that?
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
Perfect. And if you'll jump to the second one, this is simply just how we plan to roll today. I'll do number 1. You'll be hearing from Lindsey, who's our Director of Community and Economic Development. She's an incredible asset and value add for the city. Number 3, again, is this 2 and 3 is what this whole presentation was supposed to be about. Paul Bucich will talk about public works and introduce himself. I've asked him to introduce not only themselves, give a bit of their professional background, their educational background and the experience, and then to talk about their departments. And then, of course, we'll answer questions. So next slide. I think everybody knows how city manages, management is set up. That top box is 1 box, but really it's 7 bosses. So I get the wonderful position of having 7 bosses above me, and then I have a wonderful team of 7 senior management. It's kind of my cabinet, if you will. And of course, today we'll be primarily hearing from Paul. You can get a picture there, and of Lindsey. So that's the organization that I work in, and I really feel fortunate. I've got a great city council right now, super supportive, and my senior management team. We just had a retreat recently, and we're all on board, and everybody's pulling the wagon in the same direction. So I just feel really blessed to have what we have here. Next slide.
Okay.
There you go. Again. And so the next slide after that is really talking about how gets back more to my management style. I'm always looking in the future, always kind of looking forward, forecasting, what's the outlook, what do I need to prepare for? So I spend quite a bit of time trying to stay in touch with national trends, not only municipal trends, but economic trends and, political trends and all that stuff, so that I can make sure that I'm in line with that and setting goals
One more
that
minute.
will be appropriate for that. So anyway, these are last year's municipal trends that we found that were being shared by various organizations around the country. From those trends, I made 2024 trends. I'm not going to talk about that because the year's almost over, but if you'll go to the next slide, those are my 2025 operational goals that we as a senior management team have all agreed to and are focusing on. And so I'm going to quickly address, just very quickly, one slide or so with each of these 2025 operational goals that we're focusing on here in Sequim. So if you'll jump to the next slide. We really felt like it's important to focus on customers. Of course, my customers are my bosses. I need to take care of them and make sure they're happy and satisfied. But really, as a city manager, I really feel responsible for the people that I serve and work for. And you can see the three customers I've identified. My employees are super important to me, my residents and my businesses. And so the question is, how do I take care of my customers? And I have always found the easiest way is to talk to them, listen to them, ask them questions, and then take good notes, listen well, and then address the things that you hear from them. So I've only been here 3 years, but all 3 of those years we have done an employee survey, have had tremendous success with that. The first year we had about 80%, which was really high. It was like 83% participation. The national vendor that we used was surprised at that and wondered if we had, manipulated or incented them in some way to take it. But ever since, they said that you'll have a hard time keeping that level up, and it's only increased each year. I think the reason our employees are willing to take it is because we always put action items behind the surveys by department. So whatever we're hearing from them that they would like to see us do or that's important to them, we actually put an action team or a task force together and come up with how do we address those and accomplish those. So we're now at 86% participation with our employees, and they're very engaged. I feel great about that customer. As you know, we sent out a survey to our residents and got great information from them. Again, had over 500, almost 600 responses from our residents, which gave us well over statistically significant data to analyze and to work with. And so we're putting action items behind that. And our business survey went out last week. So the first time we've ever done a business survey as well. So again, you'll see it's kind of this chart on to the right there. We're really trying to create a customer-centric city. So whether you put residents in the middle of that or employees in the middle of that or business, we're putting all of the departments, we're all committed to trying to look at all the ways that we touch our customers and that we create the best experience, kind of a magical experience with them. So next slide. I'm going too slow here. I've been So the second goal of ours is, of course, in this digital transformation, any kind of technology will always probably be in the top 5 goals for the year. I was on a 6-hour webinar with Harvard Business Review folks a couple weeks ago, and they just talked about the importance of technology and how it's taking really, you all know this, right? AI and how advanced technology is getting. Anyway, I love the quote that the reason AI is being so embraced is because it's lowering the cost of subject matter expertise, and of course it does, as well as increasing efficiency and satisfaction. So my goal is to really be there, and that is to make sure that the public sector, as a city, we're keeping in step with the private sector. If Amazon is if you can order things online with Amazon and have responses in the same day, why would the city provide our residents with something less than that? So we're constantly trying to match the private sector in our technology and our capabilities and functionality. You know, you can read the rest of these, but really you need a smartphone to a smart city to be able to keep up with all the other smart devices that are being provided, whether it's a phone or homes or cars or whatever. So working hard to upskill our employees with this huge technology focus and lift. Lots of technology softwares that we've brought in. We're going hard with AI and with Internet of Things to try to embrace all of that technology across all of our enterprise here. And F is really, I speak a lot about this to our employees. If we don't start with software, and we have started with software, we probably have over a half dozen brand new softwares here that are bringing efficiencies, things that like a 10x efficiency. So something that took 3 hours before to try to manually get to the data is now within 3 minutes or sometimes 30 seconds of our grasp. So you got to start with software, which leads you to data, and the data leads you to reports, and the reports lead you to the ability to look at trends and whatnot and get to data-driven decisions. And with that, you have business intelligence and predictive analytics. So we're very committed to this slide. Go ahead and jump to the next one. It's really more of the same. It's just all the softwares that we've and some of the other technologies that we're working on or implementing at this point. So I'll jump past that. I could talk about any of those things. So number 3 on our goals for 2025 is really, again, we realize that the city is growing. You'll hear about that in the rest of the presentation by leaps and bounds. And we also heard from our resident survey that they're interested in us doing that in a smart way, to develop and grow in a smart way. This is just a picture of our CIP over the last 6 or 7, looks like 6, 7 years. And you can see the direction is CIP is for our capital improvement. This is all of our infrastructure, all of our major sidewalks and lights and streets and sewers and waters and all of the. Matter of fact, we're in the middle of our kind of trying to finalize our budget for next year. It's now a $50 million budget in Sequim, and the biggest ever. And most of that is due to the CIP that's on top of our normal operation budgets and line items. So a lot of this we're still looking for grants and for funding for, but you can see that we have more than enough need. We've got a very sophisticated way to prioritize our infrastructure needs, and Paul will probably address that. Next slide. So 3 is going to be addressed by Paul. 4 is going to be addressed by Lindsey. And this again came out of our resident survey. In more than one place, we heard the importance of trying to get to make sure that as a city we were managing growth. It was hard to know if people were saying, well, this is actually a clip from the survey. It was hard to know if people wanted us to grow more or to grow less or just to manage whatever we're doing. And that's really what we took from it, is just do it in a smart way and make sure that that it's managed. Most in our resident survey, not only did we ask them how we ranked, but we also asked them how important whatever we were asking them about was to them. And so this question about managed growth, we ranked low. You can see our satisfaction was, we only had 27% satisfaction in this area, and yet it ranked very high in the importance rating. And so if we ranked low in something, yet it was important to them, then it became something to focus on. And it was kind of number 1 as you integrated those 2 scales together. Anyway, due to that, of course, Lindsey's going to talk about all the wonderful things we're doing in the comp plan and whatnot. Lindsey recently created a fact sheet. There's a QR code to it, but you can go to our website. We have all of our fact sheets listed there. We create fact sheets so we can communicate factually to our residents, and the city council has something to refer to as well. But Lindsey just recently created a fact sheet last week and posted there to help the community understand how we are managing growth and development and the process. So that said, the next slide, and I think I'm about done, is our fifth kind of goal or objective for 2025, and that is continuous process improvement. Again, 3 years here, really trying to change the culture. There's no mistake. If you're trying to improve something, if you're asking, why do we do it this way? And is there a smarter, better, faster, cheaper, safer way to doing it? Then do it. Please take the initiative. We've asked all of our employees to totally be empowered to evaluate everything they're doing and see if there's not a better way of doing it. And so we continue to promote that. And as soon as we change a process, we then evaluate, collect data, and see if we're getting the results or the outcomes we hope to get. And if not, then we change it again. And we just constantly are looking for how to do that better and smarter. So anyway, next slide, and that's my last, is what we see is the kind of the path forward. Really looking forward to kind of next generation everything, having to kind of stay relevant, stay current, and stay smart with where the world's going. I was amazed as I watched college football games last Saturday. Every single commercial had to do, whether it was a car commercial or a Pepsi commercial, everything had AI in it, or a drone in it, or an autonomous vehicle in it, or whatever. I mean, that is the world that we're living in. If you fly into Phoenix, you can't get into a taxi. They're all autonomous vehicles. All the Uber, everything is kind of going that way. So anyway, that's probably enough for me. We'll always focus on return on investment and how we can best use our tax dollars in the most efficient and smart way. So that's a city overview. You're really here this morning to hear and meet Lindsey and Paul and hear from them and what they're doing in their department. So I'll sign off and let you continue. I think Lindsey's next up. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Go ahead, Lindsey. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Just a few moments about myself. I just want to thank you for the warm welcome to the Olympic Peninsula. My name is Lindsey Sehmel. I am a 5th generation resident of Washington State, born and raised in West Pierce County. Let's see here. I have been working under the Washington State Growth Management Act for close to 20 years now. Finished my undergrad at University of Washington, Tacoma with a bachelor's in urban studies and a GIS certification for data analysis. And in 2019, I completed my executive master's in public administration from the Daniel J. Evans School at UW Seattle. My prior employment, I spent a lot of time in small and or mid-sized historic cities. I have worked for the city of Bremerton, the city of Puyallup, the city of Gig Harbor, as well as other special purpose districts doing land use and or transportation planning. I've been with the city of Sequim now for just shy of 6 months, and it is busy. There is a lot of work to be done here, and a lot of work that I walked into in the middle of getting done. So next slides, please. So the biggest aspects, as you heard from Matt on the high level from City Council and his operational goals for the city, at the Community and Economic Development Department, customer service really is my primary focus. Development is not a simple nor streamlined nor easy feat for anybody, whether you're the small homeowner looking to do a remodel or own vacant land and are trying to figure out what the best and greatest use for the property is. We have some very large projects going on this year. One is our state mandated update to the comprehensive plan. Not only is this an update to the comprehensive plan, state legislature over the last 4 or 5 years has done a major update to the Washington State Growth Management Act. Ensuring focus on housing and other components that create healthy communities. So the comprehensive plan for the city of Sequim is going through a major update. We're looking at how to best accommodate the needs for the housing and the population that we have and the assumed growth that Washington State is projected for. One thing that you may or may not know is we just made and went live for Sequim Permit Portal. This is our online permitting system. Everything is submitted digitally now. Planners, building officials, engineers are able to review the same set of plans and do it in continuous process for our ability to get through and communicate with the applicant, comments and or process on the movement forward of the project, as well as being able to see the completion of inspections after approval. All of that information on our permit portal is available on our website, and we have a large amount of handouts and forms that can assist you in creating an account, paying your invoices, or just being nosy and seeing what's going on and what permits have been submitted to the city of Sequim. Third item I want to go over is some large projects. We anticipate 2 large projects coming in that I had pre-apps on these probably within the first month of starting in the summer of 2024. Next slide, please. The EDC it has the PowerPoint available. I do want to share with those of you watching today that this slide does have a live link on the photo. If you were to move to it, it would take you to the Sequim Permit Portal, where you can look at either applying for a permit, asking for inspections, or looking at the current permits that are in the system. And
we'll have this up on our website later today under the copy with Colleen links.
Perfect. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.
And next slide, please. Fogged up my glasses. I was talking too fast. Comprehensive plan. So if you're a resident of Sequim and or a property owner or interested party of the growth of Sequim, please go to the Sequim Imagine website. It's sequimimagine.org. This QR code, you can take a photo of that and go straight to the website too. There is continuous opportunity to provide input, suggestions, ideas for the future draft policies of the comprehensive plan. Just a high overview, Washington State Legislature adopts the Revised Code of Washington, which gives us the requirements to comply with growth management. The Sequim Comprehensive Plan establishes the policies and directions that this community and city of Sequim chooses to go in the implementation of the Growth Management Act. There are required elements under the GMA to address, such as land use, housing, transportation, utilities, concurrency, ensuring that it is a fine balance, and also permit processing timelines. Out of those required elements comes our systems, what we call functional plans. That would be our water plan, our sewer plan, our transportation master plan, or our parks master plan. And out of those system plans comes the annual and regulatory implementation through your budgeting process or the Sequim Municipal Code. So as you can see, when you're doing a large major update to the area that's in purple under that comprehensive plan, it does have a trickle down to the full implementation of the community. So please get invested, pay attention, participate. We will be really picking this up in early 2025 and carrying it through the finish line. The City Council must have an adopted plan by June 30th of 2025 per our agreements under contract and granting. So I will just say again, please participate. Next slide, please, Colleen. Large projects anticipated. Now, these are just a few of the projects that we are currently working on. I do want to take a quick minute to let the community know that the city of Sequim has been under a lot of plating activity since COVID. We have approximately 700 unbuilt lots within the city limits that you will likely begin seeing construction on. One of those is the Rolling Hills project that Lennar is doing. I believe there is, this is off of the roughness of my brain. I believe it's 217 lots of single family homes up there. And then we have a large amount of smaller subdivisions that are between the 30 to 60 lots that have been approved. We also have close to 250 lots of subdivisions under process right now. And for large projects, those two pre-ops I spoke about this summer, one is called Little Fox. It is a 52-acre parcel right in the heart of Sequim. We anticipate a application coming in sometime in the next 2 months for this project, which would include mixed use, a wide variety of housing typologies, including apartments, townhomes, duplexes, and senior living, a commercial component, and potentially a hotel. In addition to the Little Fox large project, an even larger project that I'm sure you've heard of is the Seabrook project at the John Wayne Marina. We anticipate the application coming in probably in early 25. For that, they have done their community outreach meetings that were required for the work prior to the submission. And once the city receives an application, we will be able to give some clear timelines on public process. Both of these will go in front of the hearing examiner, so there will be a quasi-judicial open public hearing, an opportunity to provide input. And that concludes my presentation, making way for my peer Paul.
Well, good morning, everyone. Colleen, time check. How much time do I have?
Oh, you've got half an hour.
Okay, because I thought we were all trying to be done by 8:40 to answer questions, leaving me 10 minutes.
Oh, I did have one question. Where is Little Fox located within the city limits?
Little Fox is located, I believe it would be Hammond and Sequim Avenue, right off of the Sequim Avenue exit.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
All right, so next slide. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Bucich. Matt has indicated I'm the new Public Works Director. I've been here a little over 6 months. I started a week before Lindsey did. So we've been learning the ropes and learning the community together. The rights, the wrongs, I'll call it the skeletons hidden in the closets, or in my case, sometimes buried under the road that we got to go figure out what's down there. I have been a professional engineer for, 91, but I graduated from Washington State University in 1984. Yes, I'm dating myself. 38 years I've been working in the profession. And I have a broad range of experience. I've worked for the city of Tacoma, Pierce County, City of Federal Way as a surface water manager. I've worked for a couple of private engineering firms. The most significant one was Parametrics when I worked on the SR 520 HOV and bridge replacement program. I was responsible on the environmental side for all the stormwater, water resources. And then they shifted and had me add on all the stormwater design teams for the entire program. If you're not familiar with that little project, it's a $4.6 billion project that was taking forever to do, but we got her done eventually. And after that, I went to work for the city of Bellevue, and I worked there in two roles. The first as the storm and surface water advisor to the Bellevue utility director, and then as the assistant director of engineering for Bellevue Utilities, where I had water, wastewater, stormwater, development review, long-range planning, NPDES permit, asset management, and the list goes on. After realizing that an 1.5 to 2 hour commute each way after 5 years was killing me, I decided that I needed a change. So I went to work for the city of Lakewood. City of Lakewood was where I grew up. So it was really great and cool to go there and contribute back to a community that I spent a lot of my formative years in. I worked there for a little over 6 years, around 6 years, as the Public Works Engineering Director, responsible for, again, stormwater and all the design of anything related to roads. I was also the city engineer, so I had development responsibility related to the roads site development. This opportunity came up in Sequim, and I've been telling my wife that for the last few years of my career, I wanted to see if there's an opportunity to move out here. And during the pandemic, we bought a little over an acre lot with our intention of making it our last and final home. The permitting process is the first time I'm going through it personally, and now I feel the pain that developers go through when they're trying to do development, and it's a little unpleasant. I have to admit it. But Clallam County has been great for me to work with, and they really pulled through, and I appreciate them for doing that. Let's go to the next slide if we could. So for those of you who are not necessarily all that intimately familiar with what Public Works is responsible for in the city of Sequim, I just want to give you a high overview of the roles and responsibilities within my department. As Matt has indicated, Lindsey and I run the two, in my opinion, most important departments. Other directors may disagree with me, but that's fine. They're not on the screen, so I can say that. I have 41, 42 staff, the largest staff in the city, and they are typically outstanding. They are very competent in what they do, and they're very eager to learn new things. And that's one of the things I'm able to bring to the table for them is new things that they have not been exposed to before. Then Public Works, the city engineer, Nick Dostey, he's also the Deputy Public Works Director, works for me. He's been here, I think, a year and a half now, Matt, maybe 2. He's responsible for the engineering design team and the consultants that we manage. Also the development review on our side that complements what Lindsey and her team do. We're responsible for delivery of potable water to our community, cleaning up the potable water after you've all used it and comes back to us in the form of a wastewater. One thing I want to say about this on the wastewater is we have a water reclamation facility instead of a treatment plant, which basically means that we take the water and we clean it up and we make it reclaimed water. That reclaimed water is used throughout our community by us and a few others, primarily to offset the costs and reduce the amount of water that we need to pull out of our aquifers. The stormwater and the streets also fall under Public Works. I have parks and administration of all of this. Within our department, we have only one gentleman, but he's doing a good job managing our fleet, our facilities, and development of an asset management program that will take care of all of our components. We also have, even though it falls under water, wastewater, stormwater, and streets, operations and maintenance. A lot of times that kind of gets buried and not spoken about very much, but I have to say that our operations and maintenance teams are some of the best that I've worked with. If there's a problem, they take care of it. They figure out a way to make it happen. So I want to make sure that they are highlighted in this discussion and given the credit where credit's due. Next slide, please. A little bit of a lag there. There we go. So Matt was talking about how technology is a major focus for he and the community here. And I just wanted to talk real quick about some of the ways technology is being used in Public Works. We use a software called Cartograph, and Cartograph enables us to do effective asset management. I'm a strong believer in asset management. I think jurisdictions that aren't using asset management are really missing the boat. Asset management is the way that we know what we have, we know what condition it's in, and we know how to prepare for its replacement. It's an important feature that has really kind of come to the top for the last 20 years or so, but not all jurisdictions are doing it, and the ones that are doing it aren't doing it extremely well. So there are some like Bellevue that was underneath me, and even there, the water and the sewer was well known, but the stormwater was a big unknown, what condition everything was in. We spent $5 million over 4 years to TV and inspect and categorize all of our assets we had on stormwater. It's a part of our rate setting structure too, because if you don't know what your assets are, you don't know what conditions in, you don't know when to replace them, you don't know how much it's going to cost you, then you're kind of using basically a statistical analysis at best to determine what you need to do as far as your rates and make sure that you don't have a large rate spike. Those utilities that don't do that are the ones that you read about in the paper, when all of a sudden they say, we got a 25% rate increase we have to have because everything's collapsing. My preference is that we have slow but steady rate increases as appropriate. And we're looking at new software that we'll be acquiring here real soon that will allow us to do a continuous rate analysis that will be coupled with our Cartograph asset management program. I'm not going to go through all those things under asset management, but you can if you would like to. Just ask me questions on those. Some of the other ways we're using technology is prior to getting here, the city went out and acquired ground penetrating radar, a piece of equipment. A lot of our water lines are AC and they asbestos concrete, and they're really hard. You can't locate them the typical historical ways like metal pipes can be. But the ground penetrating radar, we can drag it over the ground and it goes down to a set distance and it will respond back and tell you primarily what's underneath there. So when people are doing excavations, we can take this piece of equipment and go out there and tell them where our assets are so they don't hit them. We're using that here real soon. Lindsey talked about Legacy Ridge, a development up on the hill behind me, and we have we have a large 11,000 lineal feet of AC water line that is one of our primary sources coming into the city. And unfortunately, we don't know the condition. It's 70 years old, and the exact location is, well, it's right about there. So we're working with a developer to actually get us out there and to locate it using the ground penetrating radar. Drones are another thing that we've now picked up on. We're doing we have done a citywide assessment of how drones can be used. We're going through the process to determine how they're used, who gets to use them, training up the pilots for them. On Public Works, when I asked my staff, I said, so how do you envision using drones? I got an extensive list back. I won't go through all of them. But in some cases, it results in us being able to do assessments of rooftops and reservoirs without having someone climb on top of them. It allows us to look for leaks where they go through areas where maybe backyards were kind of hard to assess. There's just a tremendous number of reasons for using the drones. We've recently purchased new sewer camera equipment that Matt's pretty excited about. And I said, well, it's been around for a while, but it's new to us and the technology and what it's able to do. It will drive itself down, but it also has the ability to rotate. We also have a handheld device that you can just drop down the manhole and it will has the ability to zoom out 100, 200 feet. So you don't have to send the cameras down. The system that came with this is a complete system, also enables us to do the conditional assessment of our sewer lines. So we can now determine after we're done where we need to focus our repair efforts and our replacement efforts. We're continually working on our signal synchronization. And if you've driven through downtown Sequim and you've been frustrated, I would just ask you to have a little patience. We've done a major investment and we recently received a $1.2 million grant to allow us to replace some really old hardware on 3rd and 5th. And also outside of that, do a lot of pedestrian improvements. On the water side, we are invested in and implementing automated meter readers, also known as AMI, or in this case, AMR. We have about 2,000 radio controlled devices that have been installed out of our 3,200 services. When we're all said and done, we will no longer need meter readers to drive around and wave the wand over top of the meter. They will all automatically report out to 2 towers that exist that we had installed, and will come back to they go to the cloud. It'll be synchronized with our Tyler system, our billing system, and then come back, and then we can send out the bills automatically. And that's a great way technology to reduce our need for additional staff and to take the staff we have and repurpose them for other needs that have been kind of languishing or not able to do as effectively. We have a little device that is, I don't know if you've seen them, it's called a sidewalk sucker. That's actually the name. And I knew of one jurisdiction near me in Lakewood who had one. And then when I got here, I learned that Sequim had one. I was pretty excited. This device basically allows our crew to go out there and to where the tree roots and whatnot are buckling the sidewalk. It clamps onto it just like it sounds, and it sucks it tight, and it lifts up that panel, brings it out of the way, allows our crew to go in there, cut their fending roots, level it back out, bring it back over, and drop it back down. The important thing about this is it took us from a 4 to 8 hour, 4-person crew to go out there and break up all the concrete, re-level it, put new concrete in, close the sidewalk for a couple of days while it cures. It went from that to being able to do the work in about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. So at a minimum, we know that we're saving about $2,700 every time we go out there and do that. Currently, we're looking at upgrades to our SCADA system and addition of SCADA to other systems that don't have full SCADA yet. And that means basically we'll be able to remotely log in and take a look at all of our systems to see how they're functioning, coupled with emergency generators at our water and wastewater stations. That allows people during emergencies to be able to reach out and find out what's going on. Next slide, please.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Matt gave you a brief high-level review of our CIP and how large our CIP is. This is actually more of a breakdown by year. It will vary from year to year as grants come in, as developer money comes in, etc. And what you basically, the takeaway on this one is everything that's in that more bright yellow, that's money we need. It's unsecured. And if you look at the top line on the table at the bottom, you'll see that it ranges from only 300,000 up to 16 million. Now, that means that if we don't get that money coming in from grants or other sources, that we're going to push those projects out. But we also have a significant amount of money that comes in from the city's own resources as well as developers. And you can see that, of course, when you go out in 2027, 2028, the secured outside funding is blank because those are grants that we have yet to apply for because we can't, and the funding is not there. One of the things we've done recently, though, and this is a good opportunity to talk about it, we've been doing some code updates. The state law now allows jurisdictions to act as developers in regard to latecomers agreements. So that means that if we go out and we do a major improvement, we can now set up a latecomers agreements, and the developers who come in and make use of that would be paying their proportionate share of that. We've also established new code that allows a fee in lieu. Fee in lieu is something that was quite effective when I worked in other jurisdictions. What it means is, as a developer, you've got frontage improvements that need to be done. The city has a project in that exact same road. Pardon me. And rather than have the developer go and build something that we now have to tie into and kind of work around, the fee in lieu says, we will work with the developer to establish what their cost is for doing that improvement. They will pay us that money. We will use that money coupled with other money to build a more complete streets, complete project. The risk to us, and this is why it isn't going to work every time, the risk to us is that a fee in lieu, if we don't spend the money in 5 years, we have to give it back. So every time a project comes in, we will do an assessment of whether a fee in lieu makes any sense. I hope you picked up on one of the important features of this. I said the cost for the developer to do the project. Public works projects typically cost more on a per lineal foot than private does. But we can't effectively tell someone you have to pay the public works rate when you can do it for cheaper. So that's something that we work with the developers on quite a bit, or we will be working on that. Next slide, please. So this is just another graphic that shows that the yellow is quite large, and so we're always seeking new funds. Recently, we were notified that we're on the short list for the Opportunity Fund of $555,000 to be presented to the county commissioners for funding the design of a new pressure zone that we need up above on Reservoir Road and about 7th. That, if awarded, that would allow us to design a new water pressure system that would enable us to serve approximately 2,400 new homes. And those homes, of course, would generate a tremendous number of not just residences, but also new jobs. So we're looking forward to having that opportunity to continue to support that with the Opportunity Fund. And then we are always looking for additional funds. We have grants into the Transportation Improvement Board, TIB, and other sources of funding. Sequim has been very successful, in my opinion, on securing grant funds. So I'm pretty excited about that. Next slide, please. Let's talk about city parks, because I think Mitch indicated there was some interest in our city parks, specifically our new park that we acquired. So as a kind of a refresher, we have 13 city parks for about 135 acres. Of that, 3 parks are the big ones, and they consist of about half of that acreage that's undeveloped at this time. And we're working on the master planning for those parks as we speak. We also have upgrades to existing parks, 4 parks, like Margaret Kerner, I think, is the park that we have received $500,000 of grant funds, but we're seeking another 1.4 million to 1.9 million to complete it out. So as you can tell, we have an awful lot that we need to do. This does not include the costs for the new park and the upgrades on that, because we haven't done that process yet. In fact, speaking of that, let's move to the next slide. No, there was a lot of interest in the community and others saying, well, why are you doing this? It's a waste of money, or yes, this is great. So we always have people who love what we're doing and people who hate what we're doing or question it. And that's fine. That's the public process. The Ruth C. McCord Memorial Park was acquired in June of this year, and it's a little over 16.5 acres. We had state grant of almost $530,000 that went towards the acquisition, but we also used our parks impacts fees. Now, the question is, well, why did you acquire it? It's primarily because these types of opportunities come up very, very rarely. And the property owners, the heirs of Ruth, have the opportunity to sell to developers, but they felt that her wishes were that this become a community asset, and they were willing to sell it to us for less than what a developer would pay them for. We had a recent dedication on October 25th. The next steps, so we need to start with the community feedback, the master plan development, design development, budget, fundraising, and then ultimately construction. This is not an easy process. It's a long-term process. It's going to take us a few years to get through all of this. So everyone's going to have to kind of look at that and say, okay, the city's working on it. While we're working on it, we continued the lease for the gentleman who's been having his cows grazing on it for a number of years with the McCords. It's good for us. There's a set of eyes out there. It's good for the community because he raises the cattle for sale. And it also keeps us from having to go out there and mow it and keep vandalism down. Next slide, please. I just wanted to show the next slide because on the 25th, we did have the dedication of the park, and we had the heirs of Ruth were there. We had our state legislators, county commissioners, city council members, our city manager, and off to the left there with her sunglasses on, that is Hannah, and she was instrumental in making this whole thing happen. Next slide, please. One of the other important things we did in 2023 that is driving our work is we did an assessment of our system. It's required under the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA. And we evaluated, as you can see, quite a bit of the infrastructure in the city. Now, some of the stuff, while evaluated, is not the city's responsibility, and we won't be doing it. And other things are, and we're incorporating it both into our annual work program, as well as opportunities for grant funds that are coming through. 768 driveways. We're not responsible for the driveways, but we know where they are that are non-compliant. So if a property owner wants to come in and change it out, we'll be able to help them with that. And we'll also change some of those out when we have road projects coming in, and that is part of the justification for some of the grant applications. We did not evaluate the facilities in our parks yet, but that is work we're getting ready to start initiating here before too long. I was told we had $49 million worth of costs just associated with this, but based on my experience, I will tell you, I believe it is going to be far less than that, because we're going to be able to use city resources, not go out for a contract, which is cheaper, and that there are things, simple things like staircases that we can do ourselves, 88 parking stalls that we can do ourselves. Next slide, please.
Hold on, there we go. Okay.
There we go. Thank you. There are a couple of major projects I just want to brief you on. The first one is we have finalized the design for our West Gwin Bay water and sewer extension. That's about an $18 million project. This is only one of 2 sewer lift stations that need to be put in place on the east side of our community. serve all the undeveloped lands or underutilized lands. The city has a loan for construction on this project, and we've been working with the Seabrook developers on their responsibilities and their need to buy and basically not purchase, but build a second lift station and also to bring in water lines for them. We're one of the major implementation goals for this is to make that side of the community readily available for new development to occur, but also to serve the PNNL laboratory and their needs for expansions. They are paying us a significant amount of money for the water line coming in to serve them, as well as their proportionate share of the new sewer lift station. In this particular case, we're using two different methods of cost recovery for our loan. One of which is the new tool, which is a latecomers agreement. The second is TIF, tax increment financing, is proposed but not finalized. City Council will be looking through that in the next ensuing few months. We recently, Monday night, received the okay to start notifying the taxing districts of our intention to look at this further. That will enable us to use the increased value of lands as a measure for paying back the loan we have with the Department of Ecology. And we're also going to be using utility rates as appropriate to help pay it back. So we have a strategy. We think it's a sound financial strategy for helping the city pay back the loan and making sure that this project by itself does not hobble our ability to do other wastewater projects throughout the city. The second item, the city has looked at, I see the question from someone, and the answer is yes, TIF financing is available in the state of Washington in the last 2 years. The city of Lakewood was also looking at doing that, and they have established a TIF. I believe there are a dozen jurisdictions that either they have all looked at it, but maybe a half a dozen have actually formalized a TIF within their community.
And it's in our state, it's TIF light because the property taxes that the state receives for schools and their portion is not considered to be able to use to pay back the bonds, but anything that would be local is.
Thank you, Colleen. One of the things that I also want to nuance is you said the bonds, but it's also other debt structure. So right now we'd be using it to pay back 50% of the eligible loan that we have, about $4.7 million out of our $12 million. We estimate right now $12 million we're going to need to pull on that loan at a $16 million. The rest will be latecomers agreements, and through latecomers agreements, we're able to. The TIF will not allow us to get UGA areas. It's got to be in the city. So the only way we can do cost recovery for the lift station for those areas outside the city, but are served by the lift station, is through a latecomers agreement. That's why we're doing both mechanisms right there. You may have heard that the city has looked at upgrades to our public works shop. Yeah, there's some pretty antiquated facilities out there. Consultants came and looked at that a couple of years ago, and they came up with the dream of a project that was about $35 million. And when I came here, my first reaction was, I don't think anyone's going to fund $35 million for that. So let's start looking at what are more reasonable approaches. So we're working on that right now. We do have a grant in for a critical piece of infrastructure, no matter what else happens, and that is for a fueling station. I better hurry up. There's only 5 minutes left. So the fueling station is $1 million ask, another $500,000 from us. And then we are continuing to move forward for the 30% design for the Simdar's bypass project. Next slide, please. So these are just some major projects we did in 2023. I'm not going to go through them because I see we're running out of time. So next slide, please. And that's it. So we're available to answer any questions in the next 4 minutes.
All right, great. I see we have a couple things in the chat here. Let's see. So Brad says he's a board member of Clallam Habitat for Humanity, and he's a contractor, and he just wanted to put a plug in for the Sequim Avenue and Brownfield Road 50-unit development. And so can you talk a little bit about that, either of you?
Lindsay's gonna take lead on that, I can tell you right.
Okay,
Yeah, we currently have issued a notice of complete application, and there is a public notice board listed on the site. We are working on a subdivision application for Habitat for Humanity. They're 40, I think it's 48 units, are part of those 250 that the city is currently processing in active subdivisions. Colleen, you're muted.
thank you. Can you give any updates on the habitat developments, where that is in process? I know you highlighted Little Fox and Seabrook, they're really large, but can you
Right.
yeah.
The Habitat project is one of the 200. When I talked about current lots under review, Habitat project is I think it's about 48 units, 44 units. It's part of those 200 lots that are currently under review with the
Yeah.
city for subdivision applications.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. And in total, what is there, about 1,100 that are
Well,
in one phase or another?
There are 726 lots already created through the platting that's occurred since about 2020. We have about 200 currently under process, and then as we've heard from the large projects, about anywhere from, well, I'll go 800 to 1,200 that'll apply for in the next.
Okay. And I know one of your primary goals, Lindsay, was to reduce the time it would take to get a building permit. And so I wanted to hear about progress you've made there, but also the other thing I wanted to ask about is escaping me. Well, anyway, go ahead and answer that first question if you would.
Yeah, so there's actually been some changes. Part of the big changes to the Growth Management Act permit processing and timelines were advocated by the National Builders and State Builders Association to ensure that timelines are met on the permitting side. It does mean that applicants have to have a little more of a complete application on the application side. Building permits for uses that are already allowed, meaning that your land use approval has been completed, typically take, and starting in January 1, we'll have a 65-day review clock. But if you need to do a subdivision, you need to do a master plan, or you have land use approvals that need to occur prior to applying for your building permit, the timelines on those got extended from 120 days for a city to up to 170 days. So there is some changes under, it was called Senate Bill 5290, if anyone likes to dive a little deeper. That is the permit processing timelines that are mandated under the GMA, and the city will be working under those timelines starting in January 1.
Got it. And I remember the other thing I wanted to ask about, the new energy code requirements for homes. I think they went into effect sometime this year, and what I was hearing from builders was all sorts of builders were trying to get their applications in before that new energy code went into effect. So there was the big backlog of applications. But have you received many applications for building permits that require the new energy code? That according to folks, different people that are working on building, that they say it'll be a 25% increase in costs for a single family.
I don't do performas because that's not the realm of development that I'm in, so I have not analyzed the cost of the energy code increases. I have heard across the state though, and from my peer groups, that there is concern of that. Bill, we did not at the city of Sequim see a large rush of vesting for building permits prior to the energy code. Just to remind you that I believe that the energy code update was delayed for 3 years by the state building code council. So the builders typically knew that knew it was coming had a lot of time to be able to get their applications in prior to it becoming effective. I think it was March or April of this year.
Got it. Yeah.
There were probably, I think there were 1 or 2 apartment complexes submittals that were submitted just to meet the deadline, but there was not a mad dash, I would say.
Okay. I know I heard from the county, they had hundreds, literally. So, so thank you so much. We are at 9:02. So, I think it's time to call it a morning and give everybody their day back. But we so appreciate all of your expertise and the time you spent on these presentations, and your ongoing partnership with the EDC. So thank you, Matt and Lindsey and Paul. We really, do appreciate that you came on today and to share what's happening in the city of Sequim. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.